Okay. Yeah, Christian leadership, we've been looking at some of the qualities that we need to see in us as team players or in others. And we are looking at, how we can build a team, how we can, in order to build a good team, how we can recruit. Either that is one option, recruiting a fresh team, or the ones we have, we need to develop, right? So these are the two options. So in developing a good team, we see that these are some qualities that we want to see in the team members, right? Now we know that reality is that we can't have all these qualities functioning at a very high level in the team, right? In everybody in the team. So it's like it's something that we can develop, right? It's something that we can develop and make sure that this is there at some level in the team, right? And we can intentionally keep at it so that all these qualities, we can make sure that it is developed and the team is mature in having these qualities, right? So last class we looked at, I think, 6 of them, right? We said, we need to be adaptable, we need to be collaborative, which means we need to work together well. We need to be committed. We need to have good communication within the team, communicative. We need to be competent, which means skilled, qualified. And lastly, we saw we need to be dependable, not just committed, but dependable. Can people trust us, right? So that is something that we saw. Okay, let's just continue. The other thing, quality that we need to see in others and in ourselves as team members and maybe as a team leader is discipline. Okay, so one needs to be disciplined, and like somebody said, discipline is the fire, refining fire by which talent becomes ability, right? See, we can have great skill, great talent, but unless there is discipline, that talent will not be put to good use, right? It will be hidden, it will be wasted, right? And that's why Paul also writes to Timothy and he says, stir up the gift. Which means for stirring up the gift, one needs to do a lot of things. One needs to put in effort. One needs to discipline oneself in order for the gift to function. So he's saying, stir up the gift. It requires effort. It requires, stepping out of a comfort zone. So discipline, right? So simply put, discipline is doing something that you really don't want to do. Okay, it's good, but then you do it even when you don't feel like doing it. Emotionally, you don't feel like doing it. So you do. Now, like somebody said, again, discipline is doing what you really don't want to do so that you can do what you really want to do. Meaning, discipline will build strength in us. Right? Discipline will take us to a destiny so that we can actually enjoy and do things that we really want. The fruit of what we want to achieve is possible through discipline, right? So in order to have discipline, we need to do certain things which we don't like to do, right? It could be simple things like getting up early, maybe sometimes staying up late, putting in effort, maybe, not relaxing too much or not really indulging in leisure and entertainment for a season, right? We put away, leisure activities and maybe certain things that you really enjoy doing, but you sacrifice that so that you can achieve things, right? So discipline is that, right? It's paying a price. It means putting in more effort. It means sacrificing certain things so that you can achieve some bigger things, achieve those things that you have in mind, right? So discipline involves discipline in our thoughts, discipline in our emotions, discipline in our actions. Like to be disciplined in our thoughts, in our thinking, right? Well, the Bible says in Paul when he's writing to Timothy, and he says, God has not given us a spirit of fear, but he's given us a spirit of power, love, and a sound mind, right? And that word sound mind means disciplined mind, disciplined thinking. So we have that, right? As believers, we have that edge because the Holy Spirit wants to bring this into us, a disciplined mind with disciplined thinking and disciplined emotions, which leads to disciplined actions or choices or a lifestyle, okay? So how do I increase discipline in my life? There is a certain amount of discipline. How do I build it, right? First thing is to strengthen our work habits, right? Which means, in our work, there are certain things we will enjoy. There will always be certain things which you don't enjoy, right? It could be things like writing reports. It could be things like sending an email. It could be things like, maybe calling certain people. In all this, some things we'll enjoy, some things we won't. How do we build strength? How do we build discipline? Do those things that we don't enjoy doing also, simply because it needs to be done, right? So it needs to be done. Emotionally, it might be, like a barrier saying, don't do, postpone, leave it. It's okay, we can do it tomorrow. It's okay, we can do it next week. Do it anyway, right? Strengthen work habits. Second thing is to take on a challenge, right? Something that requires us to stretch. Like I was talking to a doctor in Baptist Hospital, and he actually takes care of the older folks, geriatrics, right? 60 plus, 65 plus. That's the kind of people he meets and helps them and all that. So he was saying, "Hey, you know what, beyond a certain age, in order to keep yourself fresh and in order to keep your thinking fresh, you need to do something that you don't enjoy doing." Okay, he's saying every day you need to do something that you don't enjoy doing, that takes a lot of effort, that takes a lot out of you. You need to do it. There's, so take on a challenge. There might be some things that you don't do, that you don't enjoy doing, that requires to, you don't normally, think intensely, maybe, but it requires discipline, right? Strengthen discipline if you would take on a challenge, right? um, and don't say things that you shouldn't, in anger, wrong confessions about yourself, about the situation. It just drains you of emotional strength. It drains your strength. Instead of adding discipline, it actually drains us of discipline. Okay, so discipline is a very important aspect of the team. The team could be very skilled, but if the team does not have discipline ingrained in them, they will not be able to achieve, right? Simple things, right? Okay. Then the other thing, next thing that we need to think of is enlarging. Okay, what is enlarging? We're just saying that you add value to the team. Okay, what is adding value to the team? Something that you help the team members, something that you bring to the team members that helps them, right? It could be in the area of work. I remember one person, he actually, in one of the offices, he helped in teaching the team members Microsoft Excel. Excel, everybody knows, right? Excel sheet, everybody works on that. Most people work on that, right? Um, so he went out of the way, right? It was not during office hours. He said, okay, I can't do it during office hours because we need to, work and there are responsibilities. I'll do it outside of office hours, but I'll do it. I'll take special permission. So he took permission from the organization. On Saturdays or after work hours, he will teach his team Microsoft Excel, right? So he was adding value to them. No, this is something that will stay with them, right? This is a skill that will stay with them. So things like that, how can you add value to your team members? Think about that. It could be in the area of skill. It could be in the area of other things, maybe something that is helpful. I remember once when I was working, I always used to kneel down and, plug in my computer because that plug was somewhere there. Okay. So I always used to do that. And a colleague of mine saw that and he brought a simple connecting cable, right? He said, okay, you just plug it here. Why don't you just put it? I really appreciated it. I didn't ask him for it, but I still remember it. Even though it's like many years, before he did that. So he just saw, hey, this guy is struggling. Every time he's kneeling down and doing this. So let me just make his life easier. Like things like that, that will add value to the team. It could be some advice, maybe financial advice, maybe relational advice, something that is helping them, right? So, but in order to get there, we need to value our team members. Do we value them? Right? Do we, more than respect, do we actually value them? Do we value what they value? And also, how can we increase their ability, right? Simple things, we can speak words of encouragement, right? So it doesn't cost us anything, right? But be sincere and be encouraging. It will really add value to the person, right? It will help the person. Believe in them, believe in their ability. So many times we can't trust, and we don't trust our team members, right? So, oh man, this guy, I know 10 times he's done it, but then I don't know whether he'll actually do it, right? We don't trust them. And even if somebody new comes, they are guilty unless proven innocent, right? We look at them as people who are guilty until they do something and then they prove themselves as innocent, right? But can we trust them? Like, that principle of the 10 that we saw, right? You put a 10 on their lives. That's the biggest score. That's a winning score. So put a 10 and value them, right? Believe in them and serve others even before they serve you. Okay, add value to others, right? So this is a way of where we can add value to our team members, right? This is also another important quality. So when they see that in us as leaders, they will begin to do that for one another. And if they don't see it in us, all these qualities, it's highly unlikely that they will want to develop in themselves or develop in others as well. So that is the thing. That's very important. We need to, model it, lead by example, right? Okay, the next one is a simple thing. Again, it will go a long way and help the team. Okay, and it's this word enthusiasm. Okay, which means interest. You are energetic. You are passionate about something. This enthusiasm, you know, um, like they said, is entheos. There's a Greek word entheos, which means in God, right? So the thing is, apparently there is a story. I don't know how far is it true, but people saw how people who were in God or in Christ were they had a zest for life, a passion for life, and then they said, hey, they are entheos, in God, right? Which means they have a real real zest, real energy, and they are interested in living, in helping, right? Sorry. So enthusiasm, have it, right? There's no substitute for it. If there is enthusiasm, it really helps. It really helps cross difficult seasons, right? It helps cross bridges which are challenging. So we need to, we can be enthusiastic. If there is a task, if it's a boring task, if it's like, shifting furniture, you can either approach it with enthusiasm or without enthusiasm. And you can say, oh man, again shifting furniture, again carrying things, again we have to pack up, again we have to set up. We can either face it that way or we can do it with enthusiasm, right? Say, okay, let's get this done, let's do it. And, think of some game or something, make it easy, make it interesting, right? So enthusiasm really changes the atmosphere in a team, in a setting, right? Really changes. In a home, in an office, in a team, it just changes the very atmosphere if there is enthusiasm, right? If there's no enthusiasm, everybody is also feeling very low, right? But you can bring in, we're not saying that, bringing in a false sense, when there is, things are difficult, things are challenging, you are saying some things for the sake of saying no, right? You are genuinely genuinely interested in the people, in the task, and how can we improve our enthusiasm? How can enthusiasm be improved or increased? This is how it is. 4 things we can look at. Whenever we go to the purpose, in other words, vision, why are we doing what I'm doing? Okay, we need to be convinced. We need to be convinced. The purpose, visiting the purpose, revisiting the purpose always helps us, right? It could be, why am I here in the first place, right? Why did God bring me here? What did God say? What prophetic words were given. What promise did the Lord bring into my life when I was reading the scriptures? And go visit that place. Go revisit it. Right? I've always written down, some of those things which happened earlier on. When it came to the Lord was guiding towards ministry. I was working in a place, and then it was so many things happened. So many supernatural things, dreams, prophetic words, like very some encounters which I did not expect at all. All these things, I've written it down, and so to revisit that, it really energizes me. Right? It brings a lot of enthusiasm to me. The interest and everything just goes up, because the why always does that. The purpose always does that. Why am I in this place? Because God called me. It's not just I decided, God called. Why am I doing this? Because this is what God did in my life to bring me to this place, to bring me to this point in my life. When you go back, it improves, it increases, right? Also, second thing is to do things with a sense of urgency, right? If any task is given, if we would do it like, okay, let me try and complete it in the shortest time possible. It's not like that we are going to do a shoddy work, right? See, quality work requires time, right? You need to put in some effort, you need to think, you need to, be creative, etc. It requires some effort and time. Sorry, it requires effort and time. But if we kind of give it some 24 hours, simple tasks, give it a long time, they say that, the deadline that we give, it can extend, it can keep on extending, right? If we are giving a short deadline, well, you will try to finish it within that. If you give yourself like 2 months to finish, you will take the whole of 2 months, right? You're saying, okay, I have 2 months. You will take the whole of 2 months, postpone it maybe, and slow it down, etc. So when you're doing things with a sense of urgency, it helps being enthusiastic, right? Being willing to do more, and also wanting to do a job that is excellent, right? So that helps us in our enthusiasm, right? So these are some simple things, practical things, but when we do it, it helps us. So we can also teach others, right? We can say, okay, hey, they seem to be doing without a sense of purpose. Yeah, tell them, about rediscovering the purpose for their lives, and then their level will go up. Okay. Okay. The next thing is to be intentional. Okay. To be intentional, which means if you're doing something, if you're writing something, if you're putting in time and effort, be intentional about it. Why you want to do it, and how you want to get it done. Like, let's say you're preparing something, right? You're reading a book. Be intentional about it so that you can complete it, you can be thorough with it, all the facts that I mentioned there, right? So be intentional. Otherwise, you will have to do it all over again, right? So when we are focused, when we are putting in effort, when we are intentional, then it helps us to complete it well, right? So what will help us, right? um, be intentional. Examine, explore, determine what are my strengths, what are my limitations. Right. So that helps me to be intentional. Like, that helps us to be intentional. What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What are my limitations? Enable me to focus. Okay, these are my limitations. That will help us to focus on the task also. It's going to take more time. It's going to take more effort. I need to put in this. If it's strength, we know, okay, I can do it. I can do it in a short time. I can do it later also, right? So to be intentional. The second thing is also to plan and to prioritize. Okay, this is very important, right? Suppose we plan. We looked at it earlier on in the course, how planning helps us, right? The first section we looked at it. So if we are planning every area of our lives, it will help us to prioritize. What does prioritize mean? What do I do first? What do I do second? What do I do third? Right? And priority is based on, whether it's urgent, whether it's important, whether it's, it's something that I can do it later. Right? So prioritize. So only when we plan can we actually prioritize, right? So plan, prioritize, and also this is something that is that they say 80% of the effort actually brings in 80% of our effort should be in what brings in the highest return. 80% of our effort, right? What is it that brings in? Focus is on when we focus on that, what brings in the highest returns, right? So our effort should be focused on that. Okay. Yeah. Next one. So we looked at being intentional. So this is also something that we develop in ourselves. Am I intentional? Am I planning? Am I prioritizing? Or am I just doing it as and when I think, oh, it feels good, let me do it. Or today, maybe I should do this. Then others also will catch on and they'll do the same thing, right? And you don't want that in a team, right? You want to plan, you want to prioritize, you want others also to plan their work and their what they need to do, right? Okay. Well, this is something that we saw earlier, to be conscious of the mission, right? To be aware of the vision, to be aware of the big picture, right? So, to be conscious of it, right? And particularly when it comes to be conscious, mission conscious, we're saying that the leader should be allowed to lead, right? The leader should be allowed to. Don't hinder the leader. Don't put barriers in front of the leader. Allow the leader, liberate the leader to lead, and that is always good for the team, right? If the team wins, if the team needs to be led effectively, then the leader should be allowed to lead. Okay, place team accomplishments ahead of personal accomplishments, right? So when we are aware, when we want to be, excuse me, when we want our mission to be successful, we need to put the team's accomplishments ahead of our own personal agendas or accomplishments. That's a, I think it's very, very, very practical. And if you're into sport, if you're into any game, a team sport, you will understand that, right? So if a person is just playing that sport for personal gain, personal accomplishment, it can sometimes come at the cost of the team's victory, right? The person is there and they want to achieve that personal milestone of a century, maybe, and they are playing in a very different defensive way, and they want to be there in order to reach that score, reach that century. Well, it can come at the team can win, but it can come at the cost of the team losing, right? Because you're personally playing for your own thing, not for the team. So we need to be careful. Okay, we need to know that the team's accomplishments, the win, victory, everything matters more than our personal thing. Okay, everything, this particular aspect is something that is, everything would depend on this. Okay, what is that? That is, to do any task, to do any job, one needs to be prepared. Okay, preparation or effort that you put into preparation will be the distinguishing factor between winning or losing. Right? Even if there is skill, even if there is gifting, right? That is the thing. Sometimes we just fall back and depend on our gifting and forget preparing. Because you are gifted, because you are talented, don't neglect the actual effort that goes into preparation, right? So for example, a person might be able to speak well, present well, think, put logically all these things well, sentences, points, everything. But if they're not going to prepare, right? If they're not going to put in the effort to research, to prepare, then the end result will be of low quality. End of the day, it'll be of low quality. People may not notice it initially, but then over a period of time, if there is no preparation, it will be of low quality, right? And also, it is actually um, not putting our gifting to good use. Like Paul says, right? Paul writes and he says, see, according to the grace that was given to me, I worked even more. Right? There was grace given to him, right? There was unusual, like all these opportunities, and in fact, God, because of God used him to write the 2/3 of Scripture in the New Testament and so on. So there was much grace. But Paul writes and he says, because of that grace, he worked even harder. Right? He put in that effort even more. Right? So that's important. Like there can be grace in our lives, there can be much favor, gifting, but what about the preparation? Right? John C. Maxwell says something very important and interesting. He says it is better to prepare than to repair, which means that without preparation, something gets broken, something gets twisted. Then at the end of it, you're going to spend more time just repairing that thing, fixing it. Right? So it's better to prepare. And like we know, the axe, sharpening of the axe is very important before you start using the axe, right? So preparation is like that. It's a battle half fought. Okay? So you assess, you align, you have the right attitude, and then you move to action. Okay. So how do I improve my ability to prepare? Okay. This whole thing, how do I bring this in my life? This aspect of preparation, right? Become a process thinker. Okay. So what does that mean? Start to finish. Okay. What does this task involve? Become a process thinker, right? If it is something to do with the project that you need to do, go through the entire process. If it is something like maybe organizing a meeting, go to the entire process, right? What is the start? What is the end? What are all the tasks that are involved? What are the different elements there that you need to take care of? Be a process thinker, right? So when you're a process thinker, you will break down into small steps the things that need to be done, right? We will break it down into small areas that need to be covered, right? Organizing a meeting, that's a big picture. But you know that there are so many things involved in that, right? In having a meeting. Promotion, place, venue, a place and venue, same thing, time, like people, speakers, resources, maybe there is food involved, maybe there are handouts involved, things that you'd give, right? Maybe there are other activities involved. So there are so many things. So in order to have an effective meeting, a simple effective meeting, there are so many things involved. So to be a process thinker is to think of all that. What would go into this? Right? What will go into this process of promotion? What will go into this process of venue? And what goes into that venue? Cleanliness of the venue, arrangement of things in the venue, and all that. So when we go into that, when we think of these processes, then we are better prepared. And we get into the details, we are better prepared, right? So it is important, right? What is the preparation for each and every step? So you're better prepared. You're not leaving things to chance. You're not leaving things to, okay, maybe that person will do it. Maybe this person will do it. No, you're assigning, right? Assigning responsibilities for people. By when it should it be done? What should be done? When it should be done? And who is going to do it? Right? Simple, right? So then it is clear to you. It is clear to others also. Research to find out ways and means to improve the self, get familiar with the tools that are used for research, and learn from the past. Very important. Whatever we have done in the past, it could be mistakes, it could be accomplishments, right? We can always learn from both. Don't say, okay, mistakes, it's too embarrassing. I don't want to even think about it. But we can actually learn how not to do it, how not to repeat those things, mistakes again, which is again a great learning, right? And it's a great preparation. So preparation actually positions the team for a win. Okay. Now The next one that we are looking at is for the team to be relational. Okay. Now, this is on the same lines as being communicative, which means you are talking, interacting with others, right? So when we say relational, these things are, when we say relational, we are saying that the team needs to relate to each and every team member, right? They cannot be isolated. They cannot be without, without interacting with people, without relating to people, or building a strong relationship. There's respect, right? There is respect, there is trust, there is honor. These things needs to be built up, right? Transparency, all that needs to be built up. So the team would require relational people, right? So the following things would help. What what is it? Respecting the teammates, right? Having shared experiences with teammates over a period of time, right? So the thing is that whenever you do a task or a work or a project, there are some things that you go through, difficulties that you go through. There are some funny moments. There are some challenging, tragic things. But all these become shared experiences. Shared experiences, meaning these are things that you and the team go together, journey through together. Like, for example, I remember once we went on a mission trip, and this was in Gujarat. Okay, this was Navsari, a place called Navsari. We went there, and on the way back, we missed the train. It was such a, and pastor was very angry because he reached the station. He was waiting for us, and we were all coming from a different place. There were a lot of luggage, so they spent a lot of time loading the luggage. It was a big team, but we came there, and the train left. It's 5 minutes, so we had to travel from Navsari, all the way to Mumbai, and we were supposed to take the train, but then we had to come by taxi, and some 2 taxis or 3 taxis. So that's a shared experience, but it's a learning, right? It's a shared experience and it's a learning. And whenever whenever the people get together, we remember that. We talk about that. Hey, we did this, we did that. Remember this moment, right? So it helps build that relational aspect. Okay, so it makes the team stronger, right? And similarly, there's happy moments also. So shared experiences, right? What is the other thing? Trust. And we need to have trust. We need to build trust. It's going to take time. If it is broken trust, it's going to take even longer time to build it, rebuild it. We need to do that. We need to have, right? Okay, several other things, like one important thing is to be able to spend time outside of office, official, or work-related settings, right? As a team leader, if you can, let's say, take the team out for a meal, for a lunch, you can spend time with the team over a tea, right? That is very helpful, right? That also builds the team relationally, right? You get to know the person, not just the role that they do, and you get to know the person. So, and it is very helpful, right? Okay. Okay, we look at a few more things. This is something to do with the future of the team, and it also starts now, which means to have a mindset of continuous learning. Okay. Sometimes, like some time back, me and my friends, this is the mindset we had. We'll go to school, we'll go to college, and after that, enough of these books. I don't want to see a book again. I don't want to have exams again. Okay, so we've had enough. I want to start working, and then we're going to have fun. No books. I don't want to look at a teacher. I don't want to have any exams. Right? But that was such a wrong mindset, right? And that is not a practical mindset also. Thing is, the reality is that you always have to learn. And learning either through books or through articles or, through whatever internet, you have to keep learning because why? Things are changing. There are new things coming in. You have to keep learning, right? So we had to learn how to use technology. We had to learn, get comfortable, using the webcam and doing, you know, we had to learn, okay, how to handle a physical class and a virtual class, because it's very different. But you had to learn to do that, right? So there is always learning, and so there is always that, having that mindset of, I need to learn, I need to improve myself. Right? It's a very important quality. I need to improve myself. What new things that I learn today? And we know that it is something that is a lifestyle aspect. Having a lifestyle of self-improving, right? So it's like, it is not a quick fix. It's like having a lifestyle of fitness, right? It's not like sometimes people go and say, doctor, just give me the injection, give me the medicine. What should I take? I want this pain to stop. I want this problem to change. Just give me the injection. It'll be fine. The doctor says, no, I'm not going to give you injection. I can't give you medicine. You need to do certain things. You need to stop eating so much of junk food. You need to stop adding so much of sugar in your life, sugar in the food. You need to stop adding so much salt. You need to change that. No injection or no medicine will say. So it's like oh God, every day I have to do this. It's like a lifestyle change. Yeah. Self-improving is a lifestyle thing. It's a long-term thing. It's like running a marathon. It's not like 100 meters dash, right? So it's a change. It's a change that we need to bring about in ourselves, saying, okay, if I need to improve, I'll be better. When I improve, I'll be better. And every day counts for improving. Every day. We can improve something about ourselves every day. So self-improving, right? So impart that into the team. Also, the team is learning, team is improving, the team is better, efficient. And so you are better positioned to do effective things, accomplish great things, right? So in order to be self-improving, we need to be open to learning new things. In order to be self-improving, we need to plan for progress. Right? Plan for progress. Okay, these are some courses that I need to do. These are some books that I'll read. These are some, conferences that I'll attend. So many things, right? So you plan for it. Okay. So that's a very important thing. It's a very fun thing. It's a very exciting thing. It makes life better. It makes work better. And it affects everything, enthusiasm and everything. When you're learning new things, you feel content as well, right? And your mind is being stretched in all these new areas, right? Okay. Okay, we're just going to look at three more things and then, open up for questions if there are any. Another quality is to not, it's the opposite of selfishness, right? Which means to be selfless. Okay. Because we're working in a team, we want everybody to have this aspect of selflessness in the team, right? Because we saw that, okay, if you're going to be relational, if you're going to be serving, if you're going to be outward looking, it'll help, right? So to have this quality of being selfless, we're saying not to be absorbed with ourselves, right? Not to be thinking all the time, what's in it for me, right? What do I get out of it? Oh, I need to be part of this. What do I get of it? Now, if I'm not getting anything out of it, I don't want to be part of it, right? Now, that's a very wrong attitude, right? For example, there could be some things that you do as a team, that's not you're not passionate about it, but you're doing it for the sake of the team, right? You're doing it, you're being there. Maybe you don't feel hungry and the team is going out to eat. You just go there and maybe you drink something, right? Drink a juice or something. Just because you're not hungry, don't say, no, I don't want to be. The team is going there. Oh, I don't like this activity. I don't like cricket. I'm not going there. You just be part of the team. So have that mindset, right? To be selfless. Okay. So, well, we looked at a few, not so critical things, but it can be helping in very critical things, like it'll help avoid internal strife, politics, because you're not self-absorbed, not always thinking about yourself, right? You're being loyal to the team. You're valuing interdependence, which means you know, how you need to depend on others to get the job done, right? You need to value others, depend on others. So it's not about independence, but it's interdependence, right? Um, how can I increase this quality of selflessness? Try to help someone secretly, right? It could be financially giving something, and do it secretly. Because when you normally help, we do it in expectation they'll say thank you, right? You're serving something, and then they'll say, oh, thank you. Right? They appreciate it, they approve what you're doing. But what if you're doing it in secret when nobody knows, right? The person whom you're helping also does not know. You're sending something, you're sending some money, sending some, whatever that they require. Have you played this game Secret Santa, right? During Christmas time, right? Where you're, maybe there's some low value gifts, not very expensive, but you're doing it. You're somebody's Santa Claus. We know Santa Claus is not scriptural, but anyway. So you're giving a gift without that person knowing, right? Without writing your name on it. So they're trying to guess, oh, wow, it's a great gift. And who's this person? It's something like that, right? Where you're giving without revealing your identity. And that improves or increases our selflessness. That actually puts to death our selfish desire to be recognized, to be applauded, to be approved, right? Somebody needs to say, oh, wow, wonderful, thank you, etc. No, you're doing it secretly. Okay. Sometimes it helps to take a subordinate role and not be the boss all the time, and to help others, to promote others, right? Okay. So that's about selflessness, and it's good to lead by example, and the team will also, and sometimes we might have to intervene and intentionally tell the team, hey guys, you need to be selfless, right? People are not getting it. We need to tell, we need to instruct, right? Okay. Solution oriented, okay, which means that I'm not always finding fault, but I'm finding a solution, right? Finding how I can solve the problem, right? There is a problem. We can either criticize the people who created the problem, or we can continue to complain, or we can suggest a solution. Hey, this is what you can do. I know there's a problem. I know maybe you created it knowingly, unknowingly, but if you do this, it will solve. It will resolve the problem, right? So, solution in a challenge versus problem in circumstances. What do you see? Do you see the problem, or can you bring a answer to that problem, right? The solution to the problem. Because problems can actually do things. It can either stop us. We say, okay, I'm going back. This is a problem. Or it can stretch us. We see, I'm stretching. I'm going to bring in a solution to this. And how we approach that problem is very important. So for a team needs to be solution oriented, right? So solution oriented people are very positive in their outlook. They're looking at a problem and say, okay, oh, this is the problem. Is it okay? How can I solve it? They're not saying, hey, who did this mess? They are solution-oriented people are not, trying to see whom they can blame. They want to solve. Like, how can we solve this so that we can make life better, right? Okay. So the focus is on solving. The focus is on strategies, and so the focus is on maybe some processes need to be repeated. I remember a long time back when we were trying to get permission for church, right? At Central, we were, we rent the place for the services and all that. So twice, I think I went and asked. Okay, this was in the past, 2 different venues. We asked, refused. They said, no, church, no, we can't. Or we can have a meeting, maybe 1 Sunday or 2 Sundays maximum, but not throughout the year. So they refused. Okay, so that year we could not use that venue. So what happened was that, there was again a problem. We had to find a solution. We had to find a venue. And it was now the church was growing and it was a big gathering. So we had to go back to that same venue, right? We had to go back to that same venue and ask them. And this time it was someone else. The thing is that it was easy. Hey, we had asked them once, they did not give, forget it. When did you ask them? 2 years back. They said no. So today, now I know it's after 2 years, but after 2 years also they will not give. Let's not approach them. That's the one approach, right? You'd say, okay, this is what it is. We can solve this problem. But instead, we said, okay, that was 2 years back. Let's try again. So this time someone else went from the team. We tried again. The management had changed, right? And this circumstances, situation was changed. They wanted revenue from rentals. The management had changed. Management was open to having other people use their venue, use their auditorium. They were open to having a church. They were open to a long-term thing, right? So if we had not thought through, if we had said, okay, just forget it, ignore it, or let's not go and approach them, we would not have solved the problem, right? So sometimes, we might have to repeat that process. It didn't give us a result 2 years back, 3 years back, but go ahead, try it out, okay? As long as it doesn't cost too much of money and time, repeat the process, right? Okay, last quality that we want to look at is to be tough, right? To be tough, to be tenacious, which means you persevere, don't give up easily, okay? Work with determination, and not just for things to happen. This I see this in the gym that I see this. Don't stop because you're tired. Okay, stop when you're done. I know it sounds nice, but the thing is, it's very difficult to implement, right? Because when you're tired, emotionally you're down, physically you're down, and you want to stop, right? So don't stop when you're tired, but when the job is done. So when we tell ourselves, no, I'm going to press in, I'm going to go that extra mile, right? I want to see how much I can do before I can stop, right? So when the job is done, you make sure, okay, I want to finish this by the end of today. I want to finish this. Be tenacious, So go all out, 100%. Okay, not more than what one has, but go all out, right? To be tenacious is to work harder. It's also to work smarter than before. Okay, what effort will give me maximum results, right? So what tools can I use? What technology can I use? What apps can I use? What is it that I can use so that I can get maximum results? Right? So work harder, work smarter, and commit to values like integrity, purity, punctuality, timeliness, right? And make it even like a game, like a competitive game, good-natured competitive game, right? So that people can develop that quality of being tough. Okay? So, in a team, you will see that some people give up very easily. Some people will not give up at all. But we need to balance, we need to bring in that wholeness. We need to bring in that quality in the team, right? Okay, so we looked at some of these qualities, and these are from the book by John C. Maxwell, adapted from there, 17 Indisputable Laws of Teamwork, right? So, so these are some things that we can build in a team, and we need to see in a team. Okay, any questions here before we close? I know it's a lot of theory, right? We looked at some examples, we looked at some illustrations, but it seems like a lot of theory. But the fact is that if we go back to this as a checklist, right? All of us, or maybe most of us, would lead teams, one way or the other. If you're going to be in ministry, if you're going to be, even in a simple Bible study, there's one person more than you. There are two people more than you, and it will grow, right? If you're faithful, it will grow. So you will encounter these team dynamics, right? Encounter these developments that we need to do in a team. We bring it in a team. So it's good to go back to this as a ready reckoner, as a checklist. How can I help my team? How can I build my team become better? And it's good to revisit these things from time to time again, right? Okay. So, yeah, if there are no questions, we'll stop here. So with this, we come to the end of the Christian leadership course. Again, there will be one more quiz as an assessment, both for online, in-person, and e-learning students as well, right? Okay. Okay, we'll stop here. God bless. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, Pastor.
Yeah. Thank you, Lucy. God bless.